Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers. I'm Gav, and I'm on my own this evening, and this is Liverpool History This Week. It's a new show from us. I'm going to be doing it once a week, and we're just going to look at Monday to Friday of this week and what's happened in Liverpool's history in that time. Look, it's one of those shows where, we always like looking back at the history of Liverpool, and we like looking back at the players, the games, the moments, wherever it might be, but you find yourself when you go back and you look at them, you kind of get down rabbit holes about players and different matches and stats and stuff like that. So I thought we'd bring this every week, have a little chat about it. We have got a live chat, so when we bring up different things that's going on, you can absolutely let me know what you think in the chat, and we can, bounce off each other. And if you're listening after the audio download afterwards, have a listen, give us a review, 5-star review if you can. And look, if any of those memories come to you while you're watching this, you can stick it in the comments after for us to read, and we might bring it up on next week's show. Look, it's the week the 19th to the 23rd of December. Lots went on in the history of Liverpool from the 19th of December to the 23rd, I'm going to be honest with you. But I've picked out a few bits that we can talk about, and we can look through, and we can go from there and see where we get to. So we're going to start on Monday, the 19th of December. That's today, isn't it? Yesterday, I'm not too sure. But the 19th of December. Okay. Couple of things have happened. So let's go through them. In 1959, on the 19th of December, Bill Shankly's first game in charge of Liverpool didn't go too well, going to be honest with you, beating 4-0 at home to Cardiff. And I remember looking back on this ages ago, looking when I was reading stuff about Shankly, and the start for him at the club wasn't great, but we know what he goes on to do. But in 1959, a 4-0 defeat at home to Cardiff, who I think I read get promoted ahead of us in that season. So that's the start to Shankly's reign. Plenty of people coming into the chat now, like Rory, Hannah, Tom, Kev, Avo, Laszlo's in there, John. Loads of people in there. So if you have if any of these memories hit you, please give us your feedback on them. But yeah, 1959, the great Bill Shankly arrives at Liverpool. His first game is a 4-0 defeat at Cardiff, but look, it went pretty well after. Then 1986, on the 19th of December 1986, Ryan Babel is born. Puts him at around 36, am I right? If my maths are correct, 36 years of age. And Ryan Babel, 146 games for Liverpool, 22 goals, signed in 2007 for 11.5 million from Ajax, leaves in 2011, I think it's the January, Hoffenheim, 6 million. And I was so excited by Ryan Babel. I was so excited by Ryan Babel. I remember watching him in when he signs Liverpool. It's a couple of pre-season games, I think, and he's just like so physical, so quick with his feet, really exciting winger. And I thought, wow, what a player we have in our hands here. And you know what? I just don't think the manager suited him. I think he comes in, he's a Rafa Benitez signing, and Rafa probably looked at him as one of those where we can, you can play Rafa's sort of way of being very solid and then look to expose teams with Ryan Babel. But we end up going down the route of likes of Albert Riera, who's a really good footballer, but a lot more workmanlike, and we didn't get the best out of Ryan Babel at all. And it was one of those, when he left the club, I always felt, you know what, he could have been so much more. He ends up playing in Turkey, comes back and plays a bit of Fulham, doesn't he? Actually scores against us as well for Fulham. But it was one of those where it just, for me, we could have seen so much more from Ryan Babel, because when he turned it on, he was near unstoppable. Genuinely, his pace and power, he's an eye for goal. He scores a couple at home to Derby, where he's brilliant, and he sends the whole Derby. He drops his shoulder in the whole Derby defence at the Anfield Road end and puts one away. And I think it's a 6-0 win. And when Ryan Babel was signed for Liverpool, I was just, what a player. But then it just didn't work. John Summers is the same. He's a guy I was so excited by Babel. He was so quick and strong. And it was one of those. 2016, and the 19th of December 2016, Sadio Mane scores an injury time winner at Goodison Park to beat Everton 1-0, and it's still one of my best memories. It's still one of my best memories. Just to win a game like that at Everton. Like, if you go back, if you remember, Coy wins one late with 2 penalties for Liverpool. It's Lucas Leiva's debut. He comes on for Steven Gerrard on the day. But that was a brilliant one. But this one was just, I always remember Liverpool being not a nothing game, but there wasn't an awful lot happening, and Everton were would have been delighted with their point. And you know, I always remember the board going up, and I think it might have been 6 or 7 minutes, and you could actually hear the groan, even through the television, of the Everton fans going, "Fucking hell, 7 minutes or 6 minutes, wherever it was." And Sturridge takes that ball and kind of wanders across the box. It doesn't hit a great shot, but manages to hit the inside of the post, comes back out, and you're thinking, there's someone on this, and Mane is, and there's flares on the pitch, and you know, it's absolutely unbelievable. And of course, the Merry Christmas Everton song gets sung for weeks on end. And to be honest with you, it made Christmas that year. It really did. You know, it was just one of those where Mane was just everywhere. You know, I think he'd arrived at Liverpool that summer. He was a catalyst for everything we were doing. I think he ends up going off to the AFCON in that January, and we kind of fall apart a little bit. But that winner at Everton was unbelievable. Kevin Sullivan said you can't be a late winner, especially there. It was absolutely brilliant. And when you see that stuff coming up and reliving it, and it's been all over Twitter, you know, with that goal and stuff like that, it's just amazing. And of course, it's famous, isn't it, for Lovren appearing through this smoke, like, I don't know, the Undertaker from the WWF. But really, really a cracking memory there. In 2020. Mo Salah scores for the 5th successive game in a 7-0 win away at Palace. And we're league champions, and we're flying. We go to Crystal Palace and we absolutely bash them. And, you know, I think we've 7 different scorers on that day. I could be wrong, but I think we've 7 different scorers on the day. And I think we've about 8 shots on target and 7 of them go in. And it was just one of those where it was absolutely ruthless. We weren't at our best, but just every time we went near the goal, we scored. And I think Henderson gets a cracker in that game. I think Minamino we opened the scoring. Salah gets his goal, and everything seems rosy in December. But about a week later, I think, is where everything goes wrong, isn't it, for Liverpool? And we go on a run of horrific defeats at home and stuff like that. Let me see. Hannah says she gets that Merry Christmas Everton song stuck in her head a lot. Yeah, it is around this time when you see those videos online of Sadio Mane doing what he's doing. It always gets stuck in your head for a couple of days. But that was a brilliant memory. Mo was on fire in December 2020, and everything looks rosy. But that season it doesn't go well from there. And I think it is about a week later. A couple of people in the chat here mentioned the NBA stuff with regards to Fenway Sports Group and a Vegas-based NBA team. That's off the back of a couple of tweets that have come out. I think this evening. I'm a guy at the podcast. I have it on my phone here because Kev O'Sullivan very kindly sent it to me. But listen, we're going to look into that a bit more. Bill Simmons is the man that was talking about that. But we're going to look into that a bit more tonight. We're doing a preview. Well, I'm doing a preview anyway of Man City tomorrow, but we're definitely going to discuss that. So I'll get somebody on with me and we'll discuss that. So, but we're going to leave that at the moment. We're going to have a little bit more of a look into it and come back tomorrow night with the preview of Man City and talk about Fenway Sports Group, because these things pop up on a daily basis nearly, and you have to kind of include them in the shows somewhere or the other, because if you don't include them, people give out. 2021, 19th December 2021, Andy Robertson sees red at Spurs in a 2-2 draw. And this is the one I think where Harry Kane should go, is it? I'm nearly sure it is. Because these Spurs games away all kind of mash into one for me. But I'm nearly sure I think it is that game where Harry Kane should definitely see red and comes off the pitch and says he wins the ball and everything was fine. And Robertson ends up seeing red and straight away after admits he was a bit of an idiot for doing it. But Robertson does see red in that game, and it's a 2-2 draw before Christmas this time last year. So there's the 19th of December for you. Moving on to the 20th of December, and we're going to fly through this. I'm not going to keep you for 50 and 60 minutes. We're gonna bash through these, and it's just a little extra show we're doing every week. So the 20th of December. 20th of December is the first one I seen was Gary Ablett makes his debut for Liverpool. Really good left back / centre half for me, Gary Ablett. He makes his debut in 1986. 147 games for Liverpool, 1 goal. But Gary Ablett for me was, he was gangly, I'd say is fair to say, but he gets an awful lot of games for Liverpool between 86 and towards, right up until he leaves the club, and he ends up at Everton, I think. But he shows how good he is because he's in that side where, and we're going to come on to another player later on that's in the same side, but Gary Ablett for me was gangly, but he was a good footballer, left-footed, centre back, left back, kind of utility kind of player. But when you see that Liverpool team from 86 through to 19, Gary Ablett figures in it quite a lot. It shows the quality that he had, but he could do kind of anything at the back. So I just wanted to give him a mention because 147 goals or games on 1 goal. And we're going to go on to another player in a minute. Actually, he's probably the next one down, where goals were hard to come by, and it became. It's probably something you remember for as much as Liverpool career, but it's one of those. People are looking at the screen and seeing Anelka, but we'll get to him in a minute. 1988, Rob Jones signs his first professional contract for Crewe Alexandra. He plays 90 games for Crewe and gets 2 goals. And famously, of course, Rob Jones plays a bucket load of games for Liverpool and never scores. And literally, I've heard stories of people for years putting money on Rob Jones to score first for Liverpool or score on that day for Liverpool, and it never happens. Thor says, yes, Gav, don't castigate Kane, for he did just castigate him for about Harry Kane. Jesus Christ, so annoying. Thor, I don't know what you're talking about there, brother. I really don't. Laszlo doesn't like Harry Kane either, but listen, we get off Harry Kane because it could go on for ages. Tom Bowen says, didn't he score an OG in the ill-fated final versus Juve and Heysel? No, he doesn't sign for Liverpool till 86. Let me see. And so, John Summers is only playing to win an FA Cup with Everton and Liverpool. Rest in peace, Gary. Of course, Gary did pass away a number of years ago. Yes, he does. I think he wins the cup in 95 with Everton, after winning it in 89 with Liverpool. Yeah, it would have been 89 because he only makes his debut in December of 86. So this is what it's about, this show. You get into Gary Ablett, he's the only player to do this, and people go, oh, geez, like that's quite a good stat. He's the only player to win an FA Cup with Liverpool and Everton, and then you start looking at what he's done, and then you get on to Rob Jones, and you end up down rabbit hole. So it's all about just kind of living out memories, and of course, you can learn a bit as you go. Antico says Rob Jones, England's best right back had he stayed fit. I could not agree with you more. John says he was such an underrated fullback. Genuinely, if Rob Jones stays fit, Gary Neville doesn't get a sniff at England until Rob Jones retires, because Rob Jones was so fucking good. One of his first appearances for Liverpool is, and it might be his first actually, is away at Old Trafford against Ryan Giggs, who's playing left wing. And Ryan Giggs at the time, of course, is brilliant winger. So exciting, left footed, pace, could go by, dribbler. He was very, very good, Ryan Giggs. In his younger days when he was a winger. But Rob Jones, I think he makes his debut for Liverpool, and I think it might be under Souness. But he was brilliant, Rob Jones. He just so good defensively, positionally. He had pace. He could go forward. He was actually quite good going forward. He just couldn't score. And listen, it is one of those where, and it comes up every so often because I think he runs a number of creches or Montessori's or something with his wife now, and it comes up every so often. I think he does a bit of work at Liverpool still, and when it comes up, you kind of think there's another player, a bit like Ryan Babel, but there's another player that came through, and if he'd have stayed fit, he'd horrible injury problems. I think he ends up going to West Ham then, and it just doesn't work for him. I don't even think he sees out a season at West Ham. But Rob Jones was, if you want to go back and check out Rob Jones, if you can find any footage of him, really, really, really good. wow, what a name this is. Why Kick a Milk Out 855 says, I remember Giggs saying Jones was the best right back he ever played against. He was so good. I don't know if Giggs has said that, but Rob Jones was so good. Let me see. MC says, evening Gav, and I'm delighted he said this. He says, evening Gav, I was born in 2000, so I'm not going to have a clue about most of this. That's the point. That's literally the point. You don't have a clue about this, MC. You're 22 odd years of age. But hearing all these names, go on to lfchistory.net and just start clicking on names, clicking on games, and you learn so much. You read so much. But trust me, get a couple of hours aside for it, because you know you end up going in all sorts of tangents, all different directions, but it's really, really good. 20th of December 2001, Nicolas Anelka arrives on loan from PSG. He scores 5 goals in 22 games, and famously at the end of that season, I think his last goal is actually Ipswich at home, where Liverpool, I think, secure second place in the league. Ipswich are already relegated, or are relegated on the day, and famously Gerard Houllier decides not to sign Nicolas Anelka on a permanent contract, which he could have done, and opts for El Hadj Diouf. And it's still one to this day where you scratch your head, because okay, 5 and 22 doesn't sound great, but you have to remember he's up there with Owen and he's up there with Heskey. He's not playing, he's not starting every game. It's 22 appearances. I've said it before, I think I mentioned him before, where he plays, I think it's a 2-0 win against Newcastle at home, and I think Murphy might get both of them. But he's unbelievable. Like, he's unbelievable in this game. He runs Newcastle ragged. Like, his movement, his touch, dragging players, and then he's just turning on the afterburners and absolutely destroying Newcastle. And I couldn't understand for the life of me why Liverpool didn't make him a permanent signing, because we would have went into 2002, 2003 with Anelka, Owen, Heskey, and you know, they were at the peaks of their power, you know, and to have those rotating over a full season, Liverpool would have been a serious force. I think 2002, 2003 we win the League Cup, we beat United in the final, but honestly, Anelka was just levels and levels and levels above anything El Hadj Diouf ever came near, to be perfectly honest with you. And Hannah says it there. She said the fact that Anelka was passed over for Diouf was just insult to injury. Let me see. Oh, Thor says, Gav, this should have read, castigate him for what he did. Don't castigate him for what he did. Just castigate him for being Harry Kane. He is unbelievably annoying. I can't even blame Predictive Test for the last chat. I just thought it was a few drinks, and that's fair enough, to be honest with you. Wasn't it around the same time he nearly signed Lee Bowyer and Houllier changed his mind when Bowyer was at the stadium? There was a lot of rumour around Bowyer at the time. Would it be in 2001, 2002? Might have been a bit later, because Leeds are on that brilliant run, aren't they, in Europe around this time. Might have been a bit earlier, maybe 2000, but Bowyer was heavily linked, and the talk was that he would go, and it never happened in the end. And you know, I think that's a bit of a blessing in disguise. MC says, Gav, I do know most of the late 90s onwards, but as for the 80s, in the 80s final, I'd have to research who our left back was, for example. Yeah, but MC, listen, go out and find yourself an old DVD of the history of Liverpool and sit down and watch it. It'll bring you right through the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And trust me, some of the stuff in the 70s and 80s is just a joy to watch. You think this side is good, and it is. It's probably arguably the best side we've ever had. But my God, the 60s, 70s and 80s in particular were absolutely special. Why Kick a Milk Cow? I think he's just making this stuff up, but I'm going to go with it. He says, Phil Thompson said that every time Anelka scored for us, his brothers would get in touch with the club and tell him his wage demands had gone up. Well, it is famous, isn't it, that his brothers were representing him, and there was all sorts of messing going on. A bit like Pogba. Were his brothers involved with him? I think they were, because something's come up in the last couple of months. And MC asked, Gav, would you say Fowler was the best finisher at Liverpool? Most natural finisher at Liverpool? Oh, for me, yeah, I've seen was Robbie Fowler, but Ian Rush was exceptional. Torres, brilliant. But even now, like, Salah misses chance, but he's a good finisher. But yeah, if you're talking just on Fowler, yeah, the most natural finisher I've seen, off both feet. headers, anything, power, precision, everything. He had the lot, Fowler. He had the lot. 20th of December 2011, Luis Suarez is banned for 8 games and fined 40 grand for racially abusing Patrice Evra. Now, this was a huge story back in 2011, and of course, we know what happens with Luis Suarez, and he gets that ban in 2011. He gets another one in 2013 for a bite on, I'm going to say, Ivanovic of Chelsea, and Suarez was a madman. There was a lot went on with this story because Suarez denied it. He said he did use a word, which I'm not going to repeat. He said he did use it, but he said in Uruguay this was the way it was being used. Everett said no, it went on. There was an awful lot of stuff about lip syncing and stuff like that, and not lip syncing, that's wrong, lip reading. But you had Kite going up and giving evidence, and there was all sorts of stuff going on. Then, of course, you had the T-shirts away at Wigan, I think it was, and it was just messy. And still to this day, you see Everett go on about it, and Suarez doesn't really, but Everett does. And, it was probably a sign of things to come with Suarez, because he gets a 6-game ban, I think, for the thing on Ivanovic. But it was a huge story at the time, and, of course, Suarez returns and goes to Old Trafford, and there's all sorts going on. Everett is doing all sorts, and it was just mad. But he does get that ban, and that's 11 years ago this week, which makes you feel old, doesn't it? It makes you feel old. MC says, like yourself, Gav, my dad's favourite player was Barnes. Yeah, I just adore John Barnes as a player. And don't get me wrong, that's taking away nothing from any player that's played for Liverpool. I just absolutely loved John Barnes as a player. Absolutely ridiculous. A ridiculous player. And MC, that's why you go and get the videos of the 70s and the 80s, because you'll see loads of John Barnes in it. And if you go onto YouTube now, you get compilations of John Barnes. But just what a player. Just what a player. Lazo said the T-shirts were embarrassing, and yeah, they were. When you look back at it, John Summers says he was a flawed genius, no doubt, but what a player. Let me see. Looking back, I was so on the wrong side of this, says Kev O'Sullivan. Hindsight is 2020, I guess. Live and learn. Yeah, look, there was a lot of Liverpool fans defending Luis Suarez, and I'm going to hold my hand up, I was as well, because he kind of admits to doing it or saying something, but it kind of felt like an awful lot of like his word against his, and we're just taking his word, the sort of way. And I'm not defending if Suarez racially abused him. He does come out and say he says it, but at the time there was a lot of Liverpool fans going, well, hold on, he's saying he done this. This fella's taking it the wrong way. He's absolutely no, and he was made an example of, to be honest with you. But that's how it goes. But 11 years ago today is a little bit mad, isn't it? Let's get on to the 21st of December, and I'm loving your comments, by the way. I'm loving your comments as they come in, because they're a great help. It's hard just to sit here and talk about days of the fucking week, to be honest with you. But Wednesday, which is tomorrow, I'm all lost on the days, people. But the 21st of December, we start in 1991. Steve McMahon's farewell at Liverpool. It's a game against Man City. It's a 2-2 draw. He ends up going to Man City, but it's his 277th game for Liverpool, and I keep going back to it, but McMahon plays in a team where Barnes, Beardsley, Aldridge, Rush, Dalglish, they all get the plaudits and and stuff like that. But and rightly so, they were brilliant. Like 87, 88 Liverpool is madness. But McMahon was a player, an absolute player. And when you actually look through a lot of the highlights of the best games and big wins and stuff like that, McMahon chips in with the odd goal, and they're really good ones. Some good assists. Does that one famously where he chases one towards the main stand, puts his studs on it, ends up nearly in the main stand, gets back to the ball to shuffle past an Arsenal player. Liverpool in the build-up get a shot away. I think it might be Beardsley, and it falls to Aldridge at the back post. But that's a really good clip if you can go and find it. But McMahon was a proper player. He shied away from nobody, got around the pitch excellently, good range of passing, loved the tackle, loved the battle. He gets smashed in the '88 Cup final against Wimbledon, Vinnie Jones, and he literally in today's game, the fellow will be gone off the pitch and out for 6 months. He pops back up. Let's get going. A really, really, and probably a little bit, maybe not underappreciated, but not as well remembered as some others in that team around that time. But he leaves and goes to Man City. But Steve McMahon was a proper player. Same day, same date, 21st of December, Titi Camara goes to West Ham for 2.2 million in the year 2000. 37 games for Liverpool, 10 goals. He goes to West Ham. I think he arrives from, I want to say Marseille, but Camara was a mad player. Like, gets a winner at Highbury when he's put through on goal, that green jersey, I remember, and he just bends it around Seaman. And does score at the Anfield Road, and I want to say against West Ham in a 1-0 on the day his father passes away. So there was a huge outpouring of emotion around Anfield that day. But Kamara was a mad player. You didn't know what he was going to do. Scored some cracking goals. Very, very entertaining. Ends up going to West Ham in the year 2000. He doesn't survive the Houllier cull as it goes on. Let me see if we got anything. Biggest story this week, if it's my birthday today. Will you sing happy birthday to me, Gav, says Red Steve. What date is your birthday? Let me know. John Summers says McMahon hard as nails, but a very good midfielder. Yeah, bang on. You're absolutely bang on. And you know what, Kamara, I keep saying it, but if you can go back and watch a bit of Kamara, just go back and watch them all, because you'll find deadly clips of them all. And Tico says that green shirt was brilliant. I want to say it was the green one with the kind of, was it white and navy kind of stripe on it down the side, but yeah, it was a good jersey. I think Berger scores wearing that jersey, doesn't he? Not Titi Kamara's, obviously. The green jersey away at Old Trafford in a draw, a deadly free kick he lashes in. John Summers says Titi was a cult hero, got a great goal against Coventry. He got some really good goals. Chris Back remembers having Kamara 22 on the green away kit. He scored some key goals, proper cult hero. Goal versus Arsenal away, goal versus West Ham less than 24 hours after his dad died. Loved Titi Kamara. Yeah, he puts a smile on your face, doesn't he, when you think of it. 2008 and 2014, on this day, 24th December, is about Arsenal, because in 2008, we're held to a 1-1 draw, and I say Arsenal beaten there. It should have been Arsenal draws, to be honest with you. But 2008, a 1-1 draw away at the Emirates. Van Persie puts Arsenal ahead. Robbie Keane equalises. And that's the one where we wear that kind of silver jersey. You remember we had to wear the red shorts and we don't know what we looked like going out. But yeah, that was 2008. That's the one where a big hoof of ball, I want to say from Agger. And I don't know who loses it in the air, but just loses the flight. Keane gets onto it and smashes it in and has a lovely time at the Emirates, because of course he was ex-Spurs. But that was a 1-1 draw. And 2014, there's a 2-2 draw at Anfield. Coutinho puts Liverpool ahead. Debussy and Giroud get Arsenal in front, but Skrtel scores a last minute equaliser to Cop end. I think he's all bandaged up, if I remember right, but that makes it 2-2. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. It feels to me like he's going around with his head bandaged up and scores in a 2-2, but I'm sure someone in the chat will tell me. Rory says first Liverpool game was Coventry at home in 1999. Camera smashed in a goal mouse out the box in the second half. Yeah, possibly the same game. John Summers was talking about a minute ago. I'm still waiting to see what day is Red Steve's birthday. It is this where I say the 20th and you say, oh, we're on the 21st now, sorry, but no, I genuinely want to know what date your birthday is. Today is Tuesday the 20th, so I genuinely want to know what date your birthday is. Arsenal fans booing Keane as he gets on it and then smashes the ball in the net, says Chris. Yeah. Lazo says Robbie Keane never played for Liverpool. That was just a fever dream we all had. Interesting, Robbie Keane though, isn't it? Gets 6 months at Liverpool and Benitez does away with him. And I thought there was signs there from. There's one game away at Atletico Madrid, I want to say, in the Champions League, and he's trying to flick a ball in for no reason, just put it in the net, and he misses a handful of chances against somebody as well at Anfield. But he scores a couple. He sets up, doesn't he set up Torres from the end line at Goodison? He's involved in the second goal with Torres on the same day. It's a 2-0 win. You know, I don't know if he's involved in that game where Liverpool bashed Tottenham at White Hart Lane and lose 1-0, and Harry Redknapp's in charge. But I want to say he wasn't in 2008. Feels like 14 years ago. It was a long time since Harry Redknapp managed Spurs, but I could be wrong. But I just thought, what would have been the harm in another 6 months of Robbie Keane? You know, and remember, we end up in a title race where we need as many players as we can, and he signs him and then gets rid of him. But it always felt like it was a bit of a signing where, oh, I'll take him, but I don't want him. It was one of those. It's Red Steve's birthday today. No, I'm not singing happy birthday to you. I wouldn't sing happy birthday to most people I know. So, but happy birthday, Red Steve. I hope you had a lovely day. And it's nice having a little birthday, isn't it, on the run up to Christmas? I wouldn't know myself, but feels like it's nice. Something to break up the week. And Kev O'Sullivan says happy birthday as well. So I might get Keith to play happy birthday to you on the tin whistle if I can get him on sometime during the week. How does that sound? 2019, Liverpool become World Club Cup champions on the 24th of December 2019. It's a 1-0 win against Flamengo in Qatar. Roberto Firmino with the goal in extra time. And I don't want this to sound wrong, but this game nearly gets overshadowed by the fact that Liverpool rock up then and do Leicester 4-0 at the Walker's Filbert Street Stadium, King Power. And like, we don't have time to really appreciate it. You know, we're World Club champions. We've done really well to go over there, win it. And literally it's about getting back because we're just all set on this league. And Liverpool going, what a performance away, the 26th of December 2019, away at Leicester. Because Leicester are our closest rivals in that title race at the time. I think they're a point better off than Man City, and were just unfucking believable that day. And I'm not saying the game gets overshadowed. We just didn't really get a chance to appreciate it. But when you look back now, you know, we'd won everything. We're on the verge of just going and winning everything. And it's, as much as you talk about the late 80s and stuff like that, and the 70s at Liverpool, that little time there, that little capsule of time there was just unbelievable as a Liverpool fan. And I want us to get back to that, and I hope, and I fully believe Liverpool will challenge again on all fronts very, very soon. But it's just one of those, World Club Cup champions, unbelievable. Not many people watching tonight, which is absolutely fine. It's a new show and it's a history one, and we're not shouting about owners and stuff like that. But hit the like button if you can. Subscribe if you're on here and you're new and you like what's going on. We promise it's not always like this where I'm just sitting here waffling about the Liverpool of the past. But let's go and do the 22nd of December. Let's see who we have on the 22nd. So, 22nd of December, couple of days before Christmas. You don't really see an awful lot of teams playing a couple of days before Christmas, don't you know? Maybe I'm wrong. I always feel like you kind of get a couple of days break and then you get into it. But Manchester, figured in this when I looked it up. 1928. That's as far as I've gone back so far. Gonna be honest with you. In 1928, on this day, the 22nd of December, Liverpool went and won 3-2 away at Man City. And in 1973, on this date, Liverpool beat Manchester United at home by 2-0. Goals from Keegan and Highway. And I wanted to bring that in because I love mentioning all these old players and telling people to go and look at them and check them out. But Keegan and Highway, Keegan was fucking deadly. Him and Toshak were just unbelievable. And Highway was just this flying winger. Just long stride on him. Highway was a great player. Great player. Highway. If you get a chance to see any footage of him, he was brilliant, Highway. Really, really, really good. So go and check that out. 2002 is a 0-0 draw. 3 days before Christmas, a 0-0 draw away at Everton at Goodison Park. And this is the one where when I was reading up about it, it was like, oh, Rooney's going to get Liverpool. Rooney's going to do this to Liverpool. Rooney does fuck all. Gerrard smashes into Gary Naismith. There was a few Naismiths around the time, but the left back, I want to say his name was Gary, absolutely smashes him. And it ends in a 0-0 draw. But I thought I'd bring that up because I think that's maybe he does it twice. I have a feeling Gerrard does that to Naismith again. Visions of it at Anfield, but when I read it up, it was a 0-0 draw at Goodison Park. Let me see what we got here. No, people are asking where you can get shoes that Infantino was wearing. Well, Tom Bowen said Steve Highway, deadly winger. He was. But yeah, that was. And when you think back, you know, if you can remember bits of that game, I think Hyypiä, when I was reading up, Hyypiä is captain for Liverpool for I want to say the 98th time, and it's a record at the time in the Premier League for the amount of times someone has captained Liverpool in the Premier League before anyone gets on me. In 2008, interesting, this one popped up and I just thought I'd throw it in there. But in 2008, on this day, Steve Staunton is sacked as assistant manager at Leeds, right? Which is the 22nd of December. The day beforehand, Gary McAllister was sacked as Leeds manager. But of course, they're both ex-Reds. Staunton there from the late 80s into the 90s comes back then, doesn't he, after spell at Villa. And Gary Mack, of course, is there for the treble season, 2001, and does one more season after that. But there you go, Staunton and Gary McAllister both sacked within a day of each other. So, yeah, Steve Staunton was sacked on Red Steve's birthday. There you go. On this day, 22nd of December, 2021, this is when Liverpool beat Leicester City in the League Cup, and what a game it was. We go in with such an understrength side, you know, at centre back, midfield, everywhere we go in. I think Vardy gets 2 to put Leicester 2 up, and you're going, this could be any score. And I go on my memory here, Oxlade-Chamberlain makes it 2-1, and then Maddison, I think, makes it 3-1. And I know Minamino makes it 3-3, but I'm trying to think it makes it 3-2 to Liverpool. I'm going to say Divock Origi, because why not? But Minamino equalises, and it goes to penalties. Liverpool win a 5-4 on penalties, if I remember right. Minamino actually misses a penalty, I think. But Jota slots home and gives a big one to Leicester, who, of course, their fans were being, their fans were being idiots, arseholes, about, because it was around Christmas, and you know these songs that they like to sing to make themselves seem cool when they're not. But what a game that was. So I'm sure when Thursday comes this week, this will flash up across social media, and it was just a mental game. Jota gets the second one? Maybe he does. Jota gets the second one, yeah. But yeah, Minamino on the last minute, just a long ball in from Milner, I think. I want to say, I can't remember the Leicester player that missed. Might be Ndidi misses the header. I think Ndidi might play centre half that night, and it just drops to Minamino and he smashes it in, and it's like, wow, this was unbelievable. Chris Brack says, love the Leicester win. Taki's late equaliser. Jota telling Leicester fans to fuck off after scoring the winner. Said on Tor interview he could hear what Leicester were singing. Yeah, there you go. Hannah says, and Hannah, I think, has changed her name in this group, if I'm right, because it looks wrong when I'm reading it. And not the Hannah bit, there's another bit to her name. I think she was Hannah alone, now it's just Hannah. Maybe that's a different person. But she says, I'll always remember Jota celebrating that pen. Jota did score the second. 2 more penalty saves for Kelleher as well, correct. Always seem to play Leicester around Christmas, you're right, because we play Leicester, don't we, on the 29th is it this year? At home this time at Anfield. Indeed, he missed the header, says Darius Hoyt. Fair play. But yeah, that was a good one. When I seen that one coming up, I was like, yeah, that'll be good now during the week to get back into it. Last one. Here we go. Last one is, of course, the 23rd of December. Loads going on. Couldn't wait to get to this. 1995. Fowler scores a hat-trick. It's a second hat-trick, I think, against Arsenal. In a 3-1 win. It's Roy Evans' 100 game in charge. I think Liverpool come from behind to win this. And Fowler does get a hat-trick. Of course, he has got that. Well, he did have until Mane done it at Southampton. He had got the fastest hat-trick in the previous season. Maybe the season before that, 93-94, I think, against Arsenal, of course, at Anfield. But he gets another hat-trick. And Fowler, that's another time he's come up in this. But Robbie Fowler in 1995, and that makes me feel old. That makes me feel fucking real old. But just another hat-trick. He was just so good, Fowler. And he's probably the biggest talking point to come out of this show if you want to go and watch someone. Because, unbelievable. Hat-trick against Arsenal. It's the second one I want to say in 3 seasons. But he makes a habit of it. I think he scores another one again. I think it's an opening day game against Arsenal, the 2-0 win. I think he scores where he bashes one off the bar at the Anfield Road end, and then Berger hits a deflected one at the Kop end. I think it's an opening day game, maybe around 97, 8. Maybe a bit later than that, actually. But he scored an awful lot of goals against Arsenal. Fowler, they must have absolutely hated him. But that was in 1995. 2000 is Arsenal again. They're beaten 4-0 at Anfield on the 23rd of December 2000. This is one where Gerrard smashes one in early. Really good shot, low. I'm trying to remember these goals. Michael Owen makes it 2. Barnby clips it over. I want to say Manninger in goal for this game to make it 3 at the Anfield Road end, and Fowler makes a 4 off a ball from Barnby, where it's a typical Fowler finish. It's running across him and he just puts it back across where he's coming from. And it's a brilliant win, 4-0. And I remember that day where I think it's Heskey plays up front with Owen, and he absolutely dominates Martin Keown, like physically, pace wise. And I actually think Owen's goal comes off the back of Heskey doing Keown down the left hand side near the main stand, and his shot comes away and Owen makes it 2. And Heskey was just, at that time, for me, he was unplayable. Laszlo doesn't like Arsenal, which is fair. Let me see, I'll just change that screen so you know what I'm talking about. Thanks, Kev. 2000, 2001, one of my all-time favourite seasons. Every game felt like a cup final. It was a mad season. And, we come up at the end of it with 3 trophies. We get into the Champions League, but the football wasn't immense. But sometimes Liverpool just broke out and done stuff to teams, and you could see there that probably needed 1 or 2 more players where you could trust yourself to absolutely dominate. But the squad we had was brilliant. Like, it was brilliant. There were so many good players in it. Lippmann is in that squad. McAllister's in that squad. Gerrard, Barnby, Haman. I don't like Haman now, but Haman was really good. You had Babel. You had Marcus Babel, of course, not Ryan. You had Hippie, you had Henshaw, Carragher. It was a really, really, really good squad, and they done so well that season, and they come second the season after, but they just don't kick on from there. And but that's another win against Arsenal, so they've kind of figured heavily on the 23rd of December. Same day, 2001. It's confirmed that Milan Baros will sign for Liverpool from Banca Strava for 3.2 million. He plays 108 games for Liverpool, scoring 27 goals, which is really low when you think about it, but he just used to run into corners, like literally never lifted his head, this fella. Every time he got his head was down. Watch his first goal for Liverpool, I think it's away at Bolton, I think we win 3-2. And literally head down, takes a touch, goes by a fella and smashes it in past, I want to say, Jaskalainen. And that was him. Ran, walked his arse off, gets a hat-trick at home to Palace at one stage, might be 2 penalties involved in it, but just ran down so many blind alleys with the ball. He just didn't get in the box enough. That's what his problem was. And you've seen in Euro 2004, they get him in the box a lot and he scores a lot of goals. I think he ends up probably top scorer in Euro 2004, or very close to it. But he does arrive. He wins the League Cup, he wins the Champions League. He ends up going to Villa in 2005 for £6.5 million. John Summers says Marcus Babel was such a good defender. Yeah. Red Steel says I thought we would push on from there. But he thought that every year, in fairness. And Chris Bracken says he was the Golden Boot winner in Euro 2004. The summer Rafa arrives, but he's gone within a year, isn't he? He's gone after the European Cup final. And he's only just retired, said Red Steve. Could be, because I was looking at Ryan Babel saying 36, he's probably doing a job somewhere for somebody. But yeah, such a good squad. And again, if you go back and look at that season, and Chris is right, it just felt like every game that came at you was like, you have to win this because of the top 4. You have to win this because of the runs and the cups were going on. A bit like last season, actually, for Liverpool, where every game, you couldn't let up on any game because it was huge in the league, huge in the European Cup, and the 2 cups were constantly going in. On this day, 2010, I just noticed Rafa was sacked by Inter Milan. And is this the period where Rafa follows Mourinho around a little bit. You know, Rafa leaves Liverpool in 2010, doesn't he? Yeah. Goes to Inter. Now, he does win, I think he wins the Super Cup in Italy and the World Club Cup, actually. But he's not. They're not great in the league, and he ends up leaving. And he follows them there. Does he end up going then on towards Real Madrid and following Mourinho at Real Madrid? Maybe there's a couple of years in between somewhere. But Rafa Benitez, after leaving Liverpool, goes to Inter Milan, and not long after he exits Inter Milan. But I just thought that was interesting. Again, when I looked at it, 12 years ago. Wow, like it's 12 years since Benitez managed us. It's just fucking mad, isn't it? Really. That 4-0 win at home to Arsenal in 2001 was 1 week after we beat Man United at Old Trafford with Murphy's free kick. Would it be cheating to rewind back a week? That 4-0 against Arsenal is down as 2000. Maybe it was 2001. I'll have to have a look at that. I thought it was 2000 though. Where was I? Yeah, Benitez. Look, he went on and he just kind of got attracted to mental owners, didn't he, in football? Like, Real Madrid was his dream job, but you know what happens at Real Madrid with the owners? Newcastle. He goes off to China for a bit, and then he does everything. And you know, I think there's a new podcast coming out from the club officially, and you see Benitez on it. He's a red. You know, he always was a red, but he's a bit of a madman. So there you go. Laszlo reckons that Milan Baros was called the Maradona of Ostrava. Wow. And Rafa always wanted just one more signing, didn't he? Says John. Yeah. And Rory Fitzgerald said, yeah, apologies, my bad, it was 2000. Yeah, I thought I was reading wrong earlier, but it was 2000. 2015. This was interesting because this player's come up again recently. Bobby Duncan. So badly advised. And I'm not going to pin the year, but he's getting games for Liverpool in pre-season, both in England and I want to say away in America. It's the year we're linked with Bruno Fernandes because I think he comes on against Sporting Lisbon. So summer of 2019 maybe. And you're thinking, good player, you know, Klopp's getting him on the pitch here and giving him a chance. But in 2015, he actually scores in a 4-3 loss to Turkey for England's under 15. Paul Glatzel also featured, and that's why it was interesting to see, you know, Paul Glatzel and Bobby Duncan's name, even going back to 2015. But it was so badly advised, and he looked a player. He looked an absolute player, but it's one of those where if you make a bad decision in your career or real life gets in the way, it can hurt you so badly. Like, I even think of poor Jordan Ibe, you know, loved by Klopp when Klopp arrived, and I think wasn't he had to do a loan spell at Derby, and he was like, geez, he's so fucking good. And he suffers with depression, I think. I've read recently about Jordan Ibe, and hoping to get his career back on track and stuff like that. But it just shows, doesn't it, that one little decision or one thing in life, real life outside of football, I understand that football isn't, that's their profession, but one little move outside that can just hurt you so badly. Red Steve says Gareth Bale and Barry. Yeah, well, you're talking there about Rafa and wanting to replace Xavi Alonso with Gareth Barry, which is just a crime. An absolute crime. Chris says Bobby Duncan is a lesson of making sure you have the right people around you. The lad was so poorly advised and hasn't really recovered from it. No, I think he's probably had, I'm going to hazard a guess, at 4 clubs since he left Liverpool, and I want to say he left Liverpool about 3 years ago. But it's one of those where it just hasn't gone well at all. I'm not getting into his agent. Just not getting into it. Duncan, Brewster, Woodburn. No guarantees. Yeah, no guarantees. 2010 bring back horrific memories of Roy Hodgson. I deliberately didn't go near Roy Hodgson because I don't consider him part of Liverpool's history, to be perfectly honest with you. Listen, we've done 50 minutes. It's way more than I thought I was going to do. Apologies for keeping you this long on this show. This was meant to be something where we do it for 30, 40 on a max, but the comments have been excellent and they've kind of kept it going. So please leave your comments afterwards with feedback, whether you like the stuff, you don't. Because as I've said, we done a test show last week, and on the test show I said to people that we invited to watch it, if you like it, tell us. If you don't, tell us. We'll get rid of it. You know, we don't want to be bringing you content where people go, just don't like that. But we kind of, I like it because you get to talk about memories of Liverpool. You get to talk about all players, games, wherever it might be, and people learn. I learn when I'm doing the research. People in the chat will hopefully have learned something. I know MC has learned something tonight, and if one person learns, that's great. People listen to it afterwards, might be listening back, going, "Geez, remember that?" And just triggering little memories. And that's what we're trying to do. But if you like it, let us know in the comments after it on YouTube. If you don't, do the same. Absolutely do the same. Hit the like button if you like it, of course, as well. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're listening back on audio download, leave a review. Leave a review on your app, whatever app you're on. It's very simple. You click on the episode, you click review, and you give us a review. If you can do 5-star, great. It means that more people will hear the show when it's put out for download, which will be done immediately after this recording. Bit of feedback already. Hannah says, really good show. Enjoyed it. Lazo says, really good show. And John Summers says, enjoyed the show, some good and bad memories. So yeah, people seem to enjoy it. But as I said, because I like it doesn't mean that it's going to happen every week. People need to like it and get involved with it. Otherwise, because it's not all about me, it's about people wanting to watch what we do. So that's it. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow anyway. I'll try to get someone to jump on me, and we'll do a preview of Man City, and we will talk about the Fenway Sports Group lads buying basketball teams. Talk to you in a bit. Over now.